All right, hello YouTube. Welcome to one of our short little recap videos for March Insanity 2024. This is the first one we've done this year so far because the last round ended literally the day before a roundtable episode. So I just threw it in there in the Palaver section. So this is the first update, and we are down after we finish this recap. We'll be down to only 4 remaining opponents in this 2024 March Insanity, which of course is to define the most worst Dark Tower moment, not most hated, worst Dark Tower moment. We've done best moment, we've done most hated character, and most beloved character. So this is kind of the mirror image of the best moment, which was of course the showdown at the Traveler's Rest, which 6 days from today, from when this video was posted, we will be recording an episode, a book club on that most beloved moments. So, but with that, let's go ahead and jump on in. Of course, you can find the polls for March Insanity. I just barely got it posted. I do apologize. It's a little bit later in the day than I would have liked it to have been. But Sunday got away from me a little bit, so it wasn't until the end of the day. So technically, everyone lost a few hours worth of voting for this round. I apologize about that. Cry your pardon. Big. And but I have it posted now, so as this goes live, the website, which is darktowerpalaver.com, you can find the voting for the next round. But let's go ahead and recap the last round. Let's go ahead. So the previous round, I'm just going to change the slide over to the results page, and we can kind of go through these one by one. So this is how it broke out. In matchup number 1, which I just realized on the website I had it typoed it. Instead of round 2 matchup 1, it says round 2 matchup A, and the rest are 2, 3, 4. So that was definitely a typo. I did not change my thing midway through. I must have accidentally hit A somehow rather than 1. So, but matchup number 1 was Roland drops Jake versus Eddie's death. And that one came out, I guess I didn't actually look at, okay, never mind. I didn't look at the overall, most biggest wins, smallest wins, all that kind of stuff, but I just did that very briefly just now. This is the second most decisive victory. Eddie's death won with a whopping 72% of the vote, leaving only 28% for Roland drops Jake. So, honestly, I think over the course of the last week since this round started, I've seen complaints from everyone that every one of these matchups was hard. Not everyone was bitching about every matchup, and I don't say bitching in a negative fashion, because I totally agree with you. These things always get hard, very hard as we move into the later rounds. But I heard complaining from various people about various polls. It seems like everyone kind of picked out one specifically where like, God, that's like the really hard one for me. And I can understand it, because I think all 4 of these were really tough matchups. But Roland drops Jake does lose quite decisively. Not the most decisive victory, though, but it is the second most decisive victory. Then down on the other side, on the same side here, round 2 matchup number 2, we had Rhea escapes, escaping any justice from all of her actions in book 4. We never really see her come to justice, so her escaping was going up against Jake's final death. Of course, Jake's final death is one of the buzzsaws, and there was no upset here, as Jake's final death won 69% of the vote to 31% of the vote for Rhea escape. So Jake's final death decisively beat Rhea's escape, which is kind of what we would expect. Same with the last. I guess the last round was one that I was actually a little bit wondering about. Roland drops Jake versus Eddie's death, because I think both of those are really, really good ones, and I really could have seen that going either way. But the fact that Eddie's death won so decisively makes me wonder if Eddie, being the most beloved Dark Tower character, according to our poll 2 years ago, maybe Eddie's death is a little bit more of a heavy hitter than I thought, because Jake's Roland drops Jake was actually the buzzsaw. That was the very top seed in the very far corner. If reminder, the top right corner, top left corner, bottom left, bottom right. Those are the 4 that got the most nominations. So actually, I guess I jumped too soon and didn't mention that even though it was the second most decisive victory, that was actually an upset for all intents and purposes. So That is our first really big upset of it. But now jumping back over to the one we were talking about, not necessarily close in any way. Rhea escapes. I wonder if it would. I thought it might get a little bit more competition, but ultimately I was not surprised at all to see Jake's final death winning the vote for this round. And then jumping over to the other side, we've got round 2, matchup number 3. And this was the Oi one. It was Oi's lamenting Jake's death versus Oi's death. One that I thought personally was the hardest one when I was putting these together. After the last round, I saw this one. I was like, oh, God, this one sucks. And yes, this was actually the tightest of the 4 polls. And Oi laments Jake's death won 62% of the vote, with Oi's death taking 38% of the vote. So that is the tightest margin of victory. And actually, I would say this one surprised me a bit. I kind of expected Oi's death to maybe punch the ticket here and win this round. But indeed, the long drawn out nature of Oi's lamenting of Jake's death, I guess I understand that one being a lot longer, maybe that affects people a lot more. Of course, animals, seeing them react to horrible things is one of the most brutal things in all of media, whether it be books, movies, television, cartoons, whatever. So I totally understand this one. But this is definitely one that I thought would probably go the other way. But it was the tightest victory. And like I said, with the 62 to 38% face off, that shows you that there was nothing necessarily super tight. As hard as I thought all these rounds were, this entire round 2, I thought every one of these matchups was super hard. But with 62 to 38 being the tightest, it speaks that it sounds like a lot of you guys out there, guys and gals, all you gunslingers, have very I don't know, defined ideas, because I don't know. Nothing super tight yet. Nothing like the finals of Most Beloved Character, or is Jake, or I'm sorry, not Jake, Eddie versus Oi, with only one vote. That was the deciding vote. If one person decided not to vote in that final matchup 2 years ago, we would have had a dead set heat with Eddie and Oi. Nothing that tight. This whole bracket so far. We'll see if anything comes up in the final. In the next round, the 4 that remain, the last 4 standing, because of course I can't say final 4 because that is a trademarked thing, stupidly enough. But that gets us to the last round. Round 2, matchup 4. I'm sorry, the last matchup of this round. Round 2, matchup 4. Roland kills his mom versus Charyu Tree. This was far and away the most decisive victory. Charyu Tree won 89% of the vote, with Roland killing his mom only getting 11% of the vote. So this was far and away the biggest boat racing of this round. Not that I am surprised. I was definitely of the belief that Charyu Tree is probably going to end up in the finals. And I also think that it has a very strong case of winning the entire thing. That was just my prediction from day 1 of this bracket. I'm not saying that to try to influence the vote, but I do. That's just kind of, I don't know, my thoughts pretty much since the beginning. So that leaves us with what I'm calling it the last 4 standing, is the current round that we are moving into. So that means that we now have, as you can go vote right now, Eddie's death taking on Jake's final death. 2 very brutal things facing off, and it is very funny. I really wish I could claim that I orchestrated this bracket, anticipating wins to have some of these matchups like the 2 Oi ones facing off. Roland killing his mom and Charyu Tree are both very young Roland. I wish I could take credit for that, but I really I'm not that clever when it comes to this. A lot of these are just serendipitous. All I did is put the main 4 at the 4 corners, and then just try to fill everything out, with evening it out to where there wouldn't just be all the heavy hitters on one side. But I wasn't really like anticipating, I wasn't playing a chess player move and anticipating the potential matchups. And let's see, Roland drops, let's see, Rhea. No. So yeah, but this one seems to match up because Eddie's death, Jake's death, obviously both things in book 7, right as the fragmentation of the quartet is happening. First Eddie dies, and then Jake dies, and then Oi, Susanna leaves, and then Oi is killed. So these 2 are pretty well tied in my mind in terms of like they're connected, right? They're one kind of chunk of book 7 that are kind of, not even that they're close in page count, but they feel like kind of the same kind of general area of the books. Very heartbreaking stuff. So kind of interesting that those 2 ended up matching up. And then on the other side, Oi laments Jake's death. taking on Charyu Tree. So yes, Oi lamenting Jake's death versus Flag's death in the very first round. That was actually the tightest vote of the entire poll so far. And then Oi versus Oi. Now we got Oi lamenting Jake's death. This is actually maybe probably the biggest underdog, so to speak, because I would have thought, well, I didn't necessarily predict that Flag's death was going to beat Oi's. I didn't think it'd be as close as it was, but I did think that Oi's death would beat Oi lamenting Jake, so that was an upset there. So the question then becomes, is can Oi lamenting Jake's death upset Charyu Tree, the probably seemingly so far vote getting wise the biggest buzzsaw of this tournament. Personally, I don't think it's going to happen. I believe Charyu Tree is going to end up in the finals. The other side, though, it is a complete fucking toss up, man. That is a coin flip. Eddie's death versus Jake's death. I will, just for prediction purposes, just based on Eddie winning our most beloved Dark Tower character, I will hedge out and say I think Eddie's death is potentially going to win there, but I really do legitimately think that's a coin toss of a matchup there, which means that would be, if my predictions were to pan out, that would be Eddie's death versus Charyu Tree, and I do believe personally Charyu Tree is probably going to win, but upsets can happen. So go get your vote in right now. Let me go ahead, I have the next slide here. You have until today, the 17th, which I know the 17th mostly over. I apologize about that. Through the 24th. Then on the 25th, the vote will start. That is a work day for me, so be patient. It'll be at the end of the workday, kind of about the same time that I'm doing this right now, unfortunately, because I have work. So I get off work, come home, do all the work to get the bracket all finalized down to the finals. But you have until then to vote on the, and I guess this one still says Final Four. Please don't sue us, NCAA. But yeah, the last one here, this round, March 17th today through the 24th. Then on the 25th, look for the video, and then the newest poll for the finals. And then that'll wrap on the 31st. And of course, April 1st, no April Fool's shenanigans involved. I will announce the winner of the worst Dark Tower moment, according to the Dark Tower Palaver listeners. So that is the bracket as it stands now. I guess I can flip on back just so that's on the screen as I finalize the video here. So go ahead and go vote. Eddie's death versus Jake's death. And then on the other side, Oi lamenting Jake's death versus Charyu Tree. Of course, if I was to look at interesting matchups, if upsets were to happen and Jake's final death and then Oi lamenting Jake's death ended up in the finals, that would be something else. Two things obviously around the same thing, Jake's death, be it his death itself or Oi lamenting his death, which is something we've asked a number of times over the years, is which is sadder, Jake actually dying or Oi's reaction to Jake dying. And then Eddie's death, of course, that's kind of a buzzsaw, as well as Charyu Tree. I don't anticipate that'll be the matchup, but if it were a matchup, that would be an interesting thing for sure. So go get your vote in, and stay tuned on the 25th. Keep an eye here on the YouTube for a new update video recapping the final, what did I say? Last four standing. I got to get that tattooed in my brain here. Look for that, as well as the vote starting on the 25th. But go ahead and get your vote in. Vote as often as you want. Over here at darktowerpalaver.com, you'll see the very newest post until the episode gets posted on Saturday or Sunday is when I actually post it in the podcast. So until then, it'll be the top thing on darktowerpalaver.com. Go over, get your vote as often as you'd like. That is totally fine. You can vote not anonymously. That was kind of the point of doing it this way. So don't feel like you're obligated to sign up for WordPress, any kind of account, to vote non-anonymously. Honestly, it's kind of one of those things. I feel like it's foolish to try to control what the internet can and can't do. People always find ways around it. So I'm just like, let's just go nuts. If you want to vote 100 times, vote 100 times. So that is the results of this round. That is the look ahead at the next round. And I will see you guys on the 25th again for this element thing on YouTube. But of course, on the 24th, I believe it is, or was it the 24th? Let me look at the calendar here. 23rd. I'm sorry. The 23rd is going to be the showdown at the Traveler's Rest, the book club of that section. I have already looked at it. It will actually fit in one episode, so looking forward to that. So see you then on the podcast side, but on this little tiny YouTube short side, see you on the 25th as we recap the final four standing, and we look ahead to the finals. So go ahead and vote, and I will sign off as I always do by saying long days and pleasant nights. And again, darktowerpalaver.com is where you go to vote. See you guys.